Hello guys, welcome to my channel. I hope everything's okay in your life. In this video you will find an updated version of series I prepared in the previous years. You're in luck for listening to the explanation because I felt the need to quickly discuss the content of the video. Each video will feature an interview with a class master about either the Succession or Awakening versions of a class. All videos, including the older ones, will be available in the playlist you see on the screen. You can find the link of the playlist in the pinned comment section. The purpose of this video series is to help you understand the basic role of the class within the game. I must clarify that it is not a deeply detailed guide. You will watch an interview in a conversational style aimed at answering the fundamental questions of those interested in playing a class. The class masters featured are experienced players who have dedicated thousands of hours to their class and to the Black Desert Online. You may recognize some and not the others, but unfamiliarity does not make them bad players. All the class masters mentioned have proven themselves in Black Desert Online world. Please be respectful when sharing your thoughts. Enjoy watching. Hello guys, welcome. Today we have Nintera for Awakening Corsair. Welcome Nintera, how are you?
Thanks, I'm doing just fine.
May you please introduce yourself? Who are you? Where are you from? Which server are you playing at?
My name is Nintera and I'm currently playing on the EU West server, and whenever there's AOS, I also play on the NA server.
Thank you. How did you find out of BDO and what caught your interest to stay in BDO?
I remember one time, my friend started playing BDO because he was really obsessed with the Korean MMOs at the time, and he wanted me to play with him. So I started playing basically as a buddy back then. And that guy doesn't play anymore, but I got roped in.
Have you ever taken a break from playing BDO? If so, what motivated you to come back?
I've taken multiple breaks from the game, especially when the PvP meta has been bad, but then after a while I get bored of other games and keep coming back.
I get it. How long have you been playing the class you're currently playing? Have you tried any other classes?
I basically started Awakening Corsair as soon as the Awakening kit came out. Before that, I started the game playing Ninja, then I played a little bit of Striker and Hashashin before Corsair got released.
So, what sets the class you're playing apart from the other classes? What is the special thing on Awakening Corsair?
I think it's more that it's like a hybrid between a range and a melee class, kind of in a similar way to Awakening Zerker. So you basically you can mix up the playstyle a lot because the kit is so versatile.
Okay, thank you. So, is your class evasion or damage reduction or both playable, and why? May you please explain?
Obviously, if you have very high gear level, evasion is the meta because Corsair has an extremely good passive evasion buff as well as an active evasion buff. And on top of that, it also has a minus accuracy mechanic, the anchor and otters that make you extremely tanky with less evasion gear than some other class need to use.
I only know that Anchor skill has a minus accuracy debuff. I'm so sorry. So, is there any other thing? Is Mist also giving the accuracy debuff?
No, currently Mist only gives you movement speed and 6% evasion. Only works on allies pretty much because you have passive overseeds that. But the otters, specifically the bomb otter option on Awakening, applies minus 12% accuracy debuff whenever it hits an opponent.
So I wonder about that. With your Shift E, the Anchor skill, as I remember, are they stack or
Shift
do
F.
not stack? Shift F, I'm sorry.
No, they do not stack.
But can you just override it?
Well, it basically just if there's an otter accuracy debuff, Anchor basically just refreshes the minus accuracy debuff.
Whoa, that's pretty strong mechanic, not gonna lie. Alright, what's your current gear score? Do you rush your gear progress, or you just like, I take it easy, I don't care gear progress? What type of person you are?
I mean, right now I'm on, depending on the set I'm running, like highest I can go is like 743 gear score, but I've been a bit slacking on the grind lately, so I'm just taking it easy.
Okay, so is your class, Awakening Corsair, is that newbie friendly? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate its difficulty? You can separate as like Succession and Awakening if you want, you can compare them.
For PvE, I'd say both classes are like, well, Succession is obviously a bit easier because it has less skills that it needs to use, but PvE on Succession is, in my opinion, pretty noob friendly, and Awakening a bit less because it has to juggle a couple of things like the self buffs and the skill rotations also not as comfy. PvP wise, Succession is easy to start with, but what people quickly find out is that staying alive in this current meta with Succession is not that easy unless you play like a full carpet build. Same goes with Awakening. Like Awakening, the range combo on Awakening is really simple. It's like it's 1, 2, 3. You just need to learn the 1, 2, 3, and then the rest is kind of whatever. And like the smaller the PvP scale goes, the harder it gets to be actually useful on Awakening.
I just wondered this. For example, you said a range combo, and also you said that like a hybrid, melee and range is mixed up. For example, let's say that you catch someone in 1v1 or in Crowd Zone. Can you actually one combo the guy from range?
Yeah, but see, that's the funny thing about Corsair Awakening, especially that whenever you catch an opponent, you basically start a lottery machine because in most combos you will do with Awakening have somewhere around 4 or 5 down smashes throughout the whole combo. So it's completely RNG if you can one combo someone. If you get unlucky with the down smashes, you don't. If you get lucky with the down smashes, you basically can keep resetting people over and over.
I get it. Okay. We are curious about your thoughts on PV situation of the class you're playing for Awakening Corsair. Could you provide us with detailed information separately for early, mid, and end game? How is Awakening Corsair?
Early game Corsair is fine. The only thing it really lacks is like quick burst mobility, the same way like some other, like a Musara Meiwa has. But the AoEs are fine for like one-shot spots. You basically just range all the time, and if it's a one-shot spot, it doesn't really matter that your mobility is not the best. Mid game, depending on the spot you do, I think it's still fine for mid game. I don't really, I kind of have a hard time thinking what would be a mid game. I guess Orcs would be a mid game spot right now.
Yeah, Orc,
Or
Psychrea, I mean, in general, Serendil with spots, and also we consider Giant spot is also mid-game.
I'd say aside from orcs, like Corsair is fine in all those. Sukraya is really comfy on Corsair mid game. End game, I would say like Corsair's real problem end game is probably the lack of a self attack speed buffer at the moment, plus the AoE size for like something like Tangrad Ruins or any spot really that has like a mob pack that's not like super tight. But any high end spot that has like a tightly packed mobs, Corsair is fine in because the AoE doesn't really matter on those as much.
As I understand, she's not offering you like a witch level, like a broken god tier level. She's definitely not that type of class, but
No,
she's
no.
playable. If you like her, the reward will be satisfactory. That's what I understand.
It's not. It's like very middle of the. Depending on the spot, it's either decent or like very middle of the pack, kinda.
I wonder something. For early game spots, you said that mobility is not like the other classes, and also we all know that the mobility is smooth but not fast, not burst mobility. Do you have a spammable skill? For example, let's say that I'm grinding at Gahaz or Poly as a newbie, and just with one skill, can I solve all my skill issue?
For something like Gahas, it's kind of like that point I'm trying to make with mobility is like the rope swing ability that Corsair has. The rope swing is technically like it's fast, but it's not like that fast because it has like a wind up thing that it needs to do all the time when you're pulling towards yourself towards something. But like if you grind something like Gahas, you can just basically move around, spam F on every pack, and they just die.
So let's talk about PvP. We're curious about your thoughts in the PvP situation of the Awakening Corsair. Could you provide us with detailed information separately for 1v1, 1vx, AOS, 5 vs 5, Guild League, Node Siege, and War of the Roses, from small scale to big, largest scale?
I'd say 1v1 wise right now, like Corsair, it depends really on your build. Like if you do a lot of 1v1s, I would just suggest you go with like a almost full glass cannon DR because it being a range class with a lot of range poke, you can range pressure like the classes that can instantly like block jump to you or like gap close you instantly. But that doesn't mean like any class that like has quick gap closing in super armor is really tough for Corsair right now, like especially like Gauntlets plus Saxerkeris and Drakani Ainasels as well. It's like those are probably the hardest 1v1 matchups right now. But in general, you have a grab, you have range CCs, you have C-Mist plus all sorts of little tools. Like you basically have a tool to win every fight, but that doesn't mean like the matchups are still fun to play. 1vx is not. I don't think 1vx is really that good on Corsair because you have to be stationary for a lot of skills. Even like anchor is something that it's a quick skill, but you're still animation locked and stationary for way too long to really in this meta where everyone's like blinking all over the screen. It's not really. You're not gonna pull off too many 1vx's on this class. AOS is fine. Like I said, in like small scale group fights, it just comes down to skill. Like you have tools to win, but it's not like S tier AOS class. The highest I got on AOS was like 2.3k last season, so it's definitely like doable to climb into high low with it. 5v5 wise, depending on comps, like if you have a lot of options you can do. You can either run like a hybrid evasion build with and play more of a supportive style where you have like a high evasion but not as much damage, but you provide a lot of like CCs and you're hard to focus down, or you can go full blast DR build and apply like a ton of range pressure. Guild League, I think is same thing as like 5v5. It depends really on your playstyle and build. Either you play like a supportive evasion build or you play like a DPS DR build. I don't think Node and Siege Wars. Lately, like I swapped to DR. I played evasion for the longest time, like basically I think over 2 years right now, and I swapped to DR a while back. And yeah, you die a lot on DR, but I actually kind of forgot as well how deceptively high damage DR Corsair can do. So I've been fragging quite nicely with DR builds on Node and Siege Wars that I've done. The War of the Roses, maybe this is my bias, but I don't really like War of the Roses. But I think it's probably like the same as Node and Siege Wars. Like you're mostly just hitting mobs anyway in that game mode, so it's okay. It's nothing crazy, but I don't think there's any real differentiator for War of the Roses, so that would make it any different from Northern Siege War.
I wonder something about it. For Awakening, in some of the old classes especially, you need to know your pre-Awakening skill cut like almost 100%. You need to know everything about your pre-awakening skill. Is that mandatory on Awakening Corsair? For example, when I watch like other Awakening Corsairs, they're using their veil skills when they need sometimes iframe or super armor rotation or something. Is that mandatory for PvE and PvP?
Not for PvE. PvE, you basically only use like your Rabam and Magnus skill. But PvP wise, like pre-awakening Corsair has a lot of good movement skills that are like when once you run out of awakening movement skills, can swap like I swap a lot into pre-awakening to keep moving around. And whale skills are there just to recover stamina. Just especially Jetstream is like very nice when they fix the stamina regen issue, that you have a very long iframe where you can just freely recover stamina in. But main use for pre-awakening right now is just moving around and regening stamina.
I also watch sometimes in Awakening Corsair PvP montages, and I'm seeing that someone is just like repositioned in some top of the rock or hill or something, and bam, 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 like an archer and ranger with the range skills. It just kills like 5, 6, 10 people at the same time. Is that actually you can do consistently, or is just like one of the like maybe 100 times he tried and only one scene he catched and the highlights is on the video?
No, actually, that's pretty easy to do. When they changed a couple of awakening skills in like a year ago, I think at this point, like they gave Corsair some really nice aerial movement options that make it so you can jump on roofs and on top of the rock like really easily. So it's like if you know the actual height, that max height you can jump on top of things, like it's actually pretty easy to do.
So is there a significant strong aspect of the class you're playing? I mean, what is the strongest thing for you? What is the weakest thing for you?
I think the strongest thing is that you have a lot of range poke. You have range CCs and like frontal guard range damage. And you also have really good panic buttons once people start gap closing to you. Like Sea Mist is probably one of the best skills in the game, hands down, and Jetstream is like a 4-second iframe if you extend with the flow skill on it, and you can just if you like don't get bad RNG with the one gap in the range poke combo, like you have very good tools to catch people off guard when they start gap closing on you as well. So very good defensive tools as well as nice range poke is like the strong suit, and I think the weakest part is probably like I wanna say the one gap on the end of Wind Piercer, but the real weakness right now with Corsair is honestly the lack of self attack speed buff. Like the class just doesn't play even remotely the same when you have shy buffs and when you don't. Like it's actually insane that how much of a difference shy buffs and like BSR buff makes on the class. Plus, of course, the fact that the class has like 5 or 6 down smashes in Awakening, that just makes you go bald when you get bad RNG.
For while we're talking about Succession with Chicken, he was also talking about attack speed is just like maybe 10% is okay. That's what he was saying. Like class feels slow, and attacks, when you get the attack speed, you feel better. You're understanding that yes, this class should be like that. You feel everything good when you get attack speed, like shy buff, as you say, or Z buff.
The biggest thing about the attack speed thing is that like when you get slowed, class has gaps, and those when you get slowed, like especially attack speed slowed, those gaps get like gigantic. So like when you don't have any way of self buffing and you get slowed and you try to like defend yourself with those skills that have like gaps and CCs on them, like it's just feels miserable.
You're right, because when you get slow, maybe people do not know that it's something different. I don't know why PA not solving that issue. This part is a little bit in-game details. For example, let's say that you get attack speed slow or movement slow, and I'm having that issue many times when I was just killing the bosses at boss splits. For example, let's say that you get slow at Sangun. I just side dash iframe. Your iframe, your PV iframe, ends around the first 1 second, but the remaining 0.5 second, you have no protection. It creates a gap. If there is a gap, it's stretching the gap even longer. It's because our protections mostly duration dependent, not animation dependent. That's just making huge problem in some of other classes. Maybe Corsair has that too. So
yeah, Corsair definitely has that.
I mean, when you get slow, you just dash. Yes, maybe the first step or first 0.8 second was protected, but the last 0.8 second is not protected. Normally, you shouldn't be that much slow, and they just put that protection for like 1 second. There was no problem. And this is just some kind of I don't want to be toxic, but we're talking about this subject like for 5 years maybe. This is some kind of idiotic situation that PA not just doing something special about it. We need some kind of fix on it. They should be animation dependent, not duration dependent.
I mean, when they're animation dependent, that's when you get like Guardian situation where they're iframing for like 8 seconds in a row. I get what you mean. Like the main thing that I'm personally like annoyed by is like if you get slowed, like let's say you get hit by like a devastation slow, you try to use like a wind piercer after that, which is the shift R&B skill. That thing is frontal guard before the attack, and it has animation lock on it, so you cannot do anything until the like projectile goes. So if you get slowed and you try to use wind piercer and someone's like coming at you, you basically just die because you can't cancel out of the skill. It's unprotected at the end, like you just die. There's nothing you can do about that.
Are there any classes that clearly dominates Corsair, and also can you actually dominate some other classes? What are the counter situations?
I mean, Suckserker is probably well, I haven't fought the Awakening Tamer in a while. Like, Suckserker is definitely the most annoying one to fight, because Corsair has a lot of frontal guard punishing skills, and Zerker basically doesn't use frontals because they just love a piercer all over the place. So if you don't like time your skills right, basically don't have a good way of CCing a Suckserker.
Okay. What about a Corsair? Is Corsair counter of someone?
Like a hard counter to someone. Let me think. I don't think there's really any hard counters in the game, but like any class that uses a lot of frontals is at least easy. Like, it's not easy, but it's like easier than like to fight than other classes, because Corsair has 2 different spammable frontal guard punishes that are like, one is range, one is like melee. So if someone's spamming, like, I want to say staff classes are like pretty good. Like, Corsair is pretty good in the staff classes because they have a lot of skills that are frontal with no CCs that you can freely try to catch them on.
So, are we talking about in general in Corsair? Can we get a brief summary of the good and bad things in your class? Let's say that I'm an average player, or a newbie. I'm a newbie, and I say that, hey, I want to try Corsair. What Corsair can offer me? What should I expect from Corsair?
As a new player, I mean, as a new player, if you do like low end PvE, like at that point, it's more about like you wanting to try the class. I think low end PvE, it doesn't really matter what class you play, I think. But PvP wise, like let's say you do tier 1 node wars, for example, like Corsair has really decent capped damage, and it has its range class, which is always like it's not like archer or ranger type of range class, but it has a combination of good melee range skills as well as like a really easy to pull off range combo. Plus the pre-awakening BSR for group fights is a lifesaver if you want to be like a... If you like I want to say like Corsair offers a more support-oriented gameplay if you like that sort of gameplay.
Thank you. Let's talk about the game itself. What are your thoughts on BDO's current situation from past until now? Do you actually love the current situation of BDO?
I want to say I do, but at the same time, I don't like how fast the game is getting. Like it seems like lately every class is just like getting skills that make them go mega fast, and the game engine can't handle like classes being this fast.
You're right. Like Awakening Nova, like Tanya, Mayagu, maybe Awaken Mayagu. The instant burst mobility is always making huge problem in the game right now.
I think that's probably the thing that I dislike the most at the moment.
Okay, let's say that like tomorrow, PA just hired you as a new Mr. J, okay? You are in top of everything, you are in charge. What would you like to add and remove? One thing to add and one thing to remove.
I would add back the Guild War tech system. I think that was a mistake that PA removed it because it made like random open world PvP disappear like completely. So I would definitely add guild techs back, and if I could remove something, I would probably just scrap the whole War of the Roses thing altogether. Just focus dev time on something else.
So what advice would you like to give to newbies, returnees, and other players in the game?
Don't worry about your gear or like what class you play. At the start, it's so easy to like swap classes these days that like your first choice like really doesn't matter that much in the end. Like you have a very long curve before you actually need to buy weight and stuff. So just try out classes before like you actually hard commit, and don't worry about like PvP that much. Like tier ones are or capped content is like goes so far these days that you don't really need to worry about like your gear all the time.
Okay, we are reaching at the end of the interview. Is there anything else you would like to add before we finish?
Buff Corsair.
Okay, thank you so much. I want to thank Nintera. He just came, he just shared his thoughts about Awakening Corsair. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Please check his Twitch, check his YouTube. You're seeing on the links on the screen right now. I want to say thank you to him. He shared his thoughts. Alright guys, do not forget, BDO is just a game. Have a nice game.